Hello. Sorry, I had a snooge in the connection, so I'm gonna restart this. So welcome everyone. Welcome to Breaking Bread with Corey and Breaking Bread with Lavelle Voyage on my podcast on Spotify. You can catch it there right now. You can stream it. It's also on Google Podcast and the Radio Public Network as far as that. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, I'm going to kick things off with Rex Rye Whiskey. And the founder is actually the first black woman to actually have a distillery in the Pacific Northwest, Miss Chauncey King. Very smooth, incredible rye whiskey. One of my favorites. And I'm pairing it with some Trader Joe's. This is actually almonds covered in almond butter and a little bit of saltiness and some other goodies. So I paired it with that tonight. I felt like a whiskey mood. Sometimes we're all in those different moods, whether it's beer, wine, or spirits. And I love my bourbon. And this is one of my favorite whiskeys right now that I've been tasting. It's really, really good. So thank you all for joining me. We are in the middle of celebrating Women's History Month. And we have another special guest tonight. We have kicked things off since celebrating 2 weeks ago on International Women's Day with the lovely Marsha Jones from Urban Connoisseurs. And we've had an amazing lineup of women, and it's really, I still say it every day, like I still can't believe these women are not top shelf. And this is what we need to do as wine communicators, wine educators out there. We really need to support the community of women business, small business, black women business, just everything. It's a support. It's a support group, and it's a community. And I am just very glad to be a part of it. And so excited to kick things off. And so I got a lovely guest for you tonight, and I can't say enough about what this young lady does. And she's pretty amazing, just her education alone and what she's done for the community. And so I'm going to bring her on. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself because I wouldn't do her justice. So let me go ahead and get her on here. Right. Here we go. Let's see if we can get her on. I had a little bit of issues. Hey! How's it going, Nicole?
It's going well. I hope you can see me okay. I decided to sit outside because it's such a pretty day.
I was gonna sit outside, but our patio, our little veranda sits on the street side, and so I didn't know if you could hear me with all the traffic going by.
Yeah, I'm taking a bit of a gamble here, but I hope my volume's good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you for joining me on Breaking Bread. And, you know, I was so excited from day one since we got in contact with each other and we started communicating and we started planning this out and set a date. I was like, okay, this is going to be great. I've just been so amazed as I keep on finding more and more information about you. So go ahead, introduce yourself to the viewer out there. I can't do you justice.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me on today. My name is Nicole. I am the face behind Vent Noir. It's a platform that I created actually a couple of years ago, but I didn't go live with it on Instagram until we found ourselves, in quarantine during the shelter in place. So I decided, why not? Let's go ahead and push myself to to get out here on social media, which isn't always the most comfortable thing to do, but
Yeah.
I'm here. So yeah, I just wanted to share Black winemakers, Black wine brands and merchants with the world. I want them to be as excited about them as I am, and also just to help consumers, people of color, feel a little bit more comfortable in the wine space, whether they're whether they're new to wine, whether they're, pretty familiar with it already. But I just wanted to kind of create a community where people can really celebrate with me everything about wine, but specifically Black winemakers and other winemakers of color who don't really get the attention that they should.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, I would say what a resume of credentials that you have, and it's just been amazing. Like I said, looking at everything that you've done and that you're a part of. Now, I know everybody gets they have a wine story. So, what got you into the whole aspect of wine?
Yeah, well, for me, the guest who really sparked the fire for me, I was already a wine drinker, was already a lover of wine, and it was just kind of naturally in the background of my life since college, and gradually, trying better wines. But I met Theodora Lee of Theopolis Vineyards a few years back on a wine tour, and her spirit, her energy, just really ignited a fire within me. And on this tour, got to chat with her, throughout the day, and she encouraged me to get into some wine education to see if it's something that I really wanted to do. And I took her advice, and I started on the journey of the WSET wine education. I took the level 1 because I know a lot of people, who are already comfortable with wine and have been drinking it for years. Sometimes people jump into the level 2, but I was so just unsure, and I said, no, I'm going to start at level 1. And I'm glad that I did, because, it really gave me a good foundation, I feel. And it made me want to go even deeper. And then I pursued the level 2 in wine. And I'm currently studying for the CSW through the Society of Wine Educators.
Right.
Yeah.
So explain the difference between the CSW and the WSET. You just have your WSET too, right?
Yeah. So honestly, they confuse me as well sometimes, but they do. Like, for me, the WSET I felt was a really good start and a good foundation, because I wasn't, in the space where I was like working in a restaurant or in a wine shop yet. And so I wasn't in a space where I was going to be doing service, but I wanted to get the background and the foundation. I wanted to know about wine. I wanted to know how it's grown. I wanted to know how people were, smelling the aromas that they were smelling in the glass. I mean, it sounds really basic, but, it's science and agriculture, and it's really amazing. And I wanted to know more about it. So I did a little bit of research online and landed at the WSET because it was marketed and even from a few people that I spoke to as a good place to start if you're, wanting that good education base and maybe wanting to be a wine educator yourself. And that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be equipped with the information and knowledge so that I could, while having fun, while recommending wines, while reviewing wines, also impart that information, to the community who may not be familiar as well. So I wanted to just kind of share that. And that's why I went that route.
That's interesting, because I think we all kind of dabble into getting our feet wet some way or somehow, and then we kind of progress from there. But I like that, because you're kind of spreading your wings, allowing yourself to really kind of fully embrace everything, and I like that. I wish I would have had more opportunity, how I've started and how I got involved. I had more informal education through like mentorship, but I wish I would have had something a little bit more steady and something like that where I could take little steps and kind of, go about it. So besides having that really powerful influence from Theodora, was there that pivotal moment where you had that glass of wine, that picturesque moment where you just said, man, I just got to continue with this. I got to do something with it.
You know what? I don't know that they all three collided at the same time. For me, like I said, I was already um, a lover of wine, but
Right.
just meeting her and thinking about what I want to do next, in life. I've been a public servant. I work in public government, and I've worked in public education for a total of almost like 20 years. And so,
What did you do in public education?
I was a coordinator of student services for a public charter school, middle school and high school campus.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. I have some siblings that work in education area themselves. So in the LA Unified School District, so that's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's nice. I've always had a platform of service and wanting to help people. Um, in college, I studied psychology and I went to my graduate school to do public administration. So, I've kind of kept that same thread along the way. And I'm now thinking about, what could I see myself doing for the rest of my life, but also having fun at the same
Right.
time. And wine was
Right.
it was the easy answer.
Yeah. What can you see? Like, do you have like a dream job that you could think of that you would want to do? Whether it's being behind the scenes, or is there anything particular that is your dream job that you would want to have in the wine industry?
Yeah. Owning my own wine tasting gallery and wine shop.
Nice.
Yeah. It's scary, but that's, it's like, if it doesn't scare you, it's not worth, it's shooting for. So that's what I envision doing.
How would you want it to be if you had your own like wine gallery? Like, how would you want it to be? What would be different? Like, as far as if you're trying to reach a different if you're trying to reach a different audience, or is there something
Sure.
that you're
Yeah, I think really kind of the opposite of what you see in the majority of the tasting rooms and tasting galleries that you go to, or even wine shops and grocery stores.
right?
Just seeing a lineup of wine that is from Black winemakers, from
Yeah,
indigenous winemakers,
right.
and just women that may not necessarily have had an opportunity to, be on a shelf in a store or in a restaurant otherwise. That's what I would like to see. And definitely, that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in celebrating other wine brands. But
Right.
as we all know, we make up, people of color make up 1% of the total wine industry. So, I
Right.
think it's time, and it's very, it would just be a special opportunity to be able to provide that experience, and then really give people an opportunity to really kind of come in and be proud of knowing that the product that they see, the product that they're trying, is coming from a Black winemaker. You don't really
Yeah.
have that pride, that excitement most of the time when you're going to tasting galleries. Like, when we go to wineries and whatnot, we're all excited because we love wine, right?
Right.
But I
Right.
think it would just be a great opportunity to, again, showcase wine brands from people of color, give them an opportunity to come to a place that may not be as stuffy or unwelcoming. I want them to come in and feel like they
Absolutely.
belong there.
Yeah.
And part of that means that you walk into a place and you see people who look like you,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
that's
dig
a
it.
part of it.
I totally dig it. I
Hey,
think
Shannon.
I think all of us that have a certain right now, that this community that I see, I'm trying to explain it as best as I can, because sometimes my brain goes faster than my mouth. But
Me too.
I really feel like there's a community that is out there that really thinks 100% the same way that you do, what I
Yeah,
do. I mean, I can't say it enough. I've been in the retail aspect of it, you know,
trying to help
for
faith
over
in each other.
15 years,
Yeah.
and seeing what is how it's been and where it's going, and the direction it's going is really, I think I think it's not I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's not a positive thing for the consumer themselves.
Hmm.
Because what happens is, if the consumer doesn't know that there's Black-owned wineries, women that are women winemakers, Hispanic-owned wineries out there,
Yeah.
then it's going to keep on continuing going the same way. We're going to keep on pushing the same brands and the same thing, and everybody's going to keep on pushing it the same way. And I think that there's so many of us right now that have the same mentality of expanding that, making wine, and I've seen it in your words, approachable. More like if you're saying, hey, wine tasting rooms that are more like you and I, we feel more comfortable and we're enjoying it more. But there's an appreciation because we see ourselves on the bottle, represented on the bottle, on the top shelf, and everywhere. That is the important thing. And I think that's kind of the loss that I think that is continuing when retailers try to blend everything together so they could get the big buck, and rather than going, hey, this is where this came from, and this is the origin of this, and this. They're just trying to change it up and making the big. And I really don't. I just don't get it. And there's so much, and I honestly feel that if we did open it up, I think it would cut the wall down for this division of what we don't see, and we can now see everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just rambling on, but
well, and it doesn't mean that every winery that I've gone to has been an unpleasant experience. That's far from it, because when people are hanging out, when there's wine around, I've had some great experiences chatting with people, meeting people for the first time, and I think that's kind of the common thread about wine, is that it's one of those things that it brings people together. But there is clearly this perception that wine isn't for us, and by us I mean Black people, Hispanic people, people of color. It's just not something that we're comfortable with. I think even growing up, you probably had a similar experience, in your household when you were younger. But I remember family members drinking spirits more so. Every once in a while, I saw some box wine, but it wasn't, wine wasn't something that was at the table growing up for me. For me, it was, watching like Dynasty and looking at Diane Carroll drinking champagne. It was like, wow, that's, like something about that. But it just wasn't something that was, part of our fabric.
Right. Yeah, it's even like my mom and I were just talking about it. We were kind of reminiscing about my grandparents. My grandfather used to bring a cooler every time he'd come to our house, and the first thing he would say is, "Put the ball game on and let's have a beer." And that was his thing. And I didn't really remember this until my mom said this, but my grandmother would do the same thing. She would actually crack open a beer and sip it with my sister and stuff. And I think like it's kind of interesting because I believe, and it's like anything, it's marketing, how they target to a certain audience.
Oh, of course.
Instead of saying, hey, we're going to target these wines to everybody, and everybody's going to be included, and we're going to put that all over the billboard. We're going to have all kinds of color on the billboard, basically. Yeah. I think that would create more dimension. I think that would create more understanding for the consumer, but instead it's strictly directed to a particular audience, and that's what kind of is defeating everything. That was one of the words I was looking for, is defeat. It's defeating to the consumer. But as far as, we just went through a pretty crazy year with 2020. How do you see, like, as far as, have you gotten anything out of the progression, or anything that you see that is still on a stagnant level as far as women of color in the industry? Do you see it even progressing, or do you see it as a downslope? Do you see it as it's stagnant? Is it growing?
Well, for me, it definitely feels like, there is a momentum. It doesn't feel like anything is slowed down. That's my perspective in the space that I'm in. Certainly, like I said, when I started to do the social interaction on Instagram and Facebook last year, it actually hasn't even been a full year yet. It will be a year, I want to say the end of June. You know, I just met some great people who I call them my wine friends, the wine community that I've become a part of over the past year. And, it just feels like every other day I'm seeing like a new brand popping up, discovering people who've actually been there, in this space, but maybe I didn't know about them and maybe others didn't know about them. And maybe like myself, they had already been, you know, familiar with wine for years, studying wine, but just didn't feel like they could actually, enter this space and, kind of share their thoughts about wine brands and what they were drinking and how they felt about it. So I definitely feel like there has been a momentum that has continued. I hope that it doesn't slow up at all. I hope that all of the attention, all of the scholarships and opportunities that have made themselves available, I hope that they do continue because they need to continue.
Yes.
Because like I said, there's such a huge disparity. 1%. There's a large gap there that won't close on its own, and it certainly won't close if the momentum and attention stops.
Yeah, I think it's really a great thing to see. I hate using that word great, but I'm trying to look for something that's a little bit better, but more defined. But I think seeing as many joining in these chats, these conversations, seeing these communities, and I can't say it enough, but the women that I've come in contact with, and they're really warm and welcoming, and even if I'm the only guy in the conversation, it has been great, and I just feel like we're all trying to do something. We're all trying to do. We all have this focus, and it's been really good. And to see, like you said, the momentum moving forward. We need to keep the foot on the gas and keep it going.
Yeah, we do. And, for me, you're talking about how welcoming and helpful the folks have been that you've interacted with. I've had the same experience. One of the first people that I reached out to on social media was Desiree of the Wine au Noir. And she was just so awesome in taking the time to talk to me. We had a Google Meet call, and she spent, time answering my questions, and, just really encouraged me. It's so funny. I mean, she's younger than I am. I felt kind of silly. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm asking these, people younger than me to, to help me. I felt like the old auntie or grandma on social media asking for help. Like, how do do this? But, she's been awesome. And I've met, other folks. I've had the opportunity to participate in tastings with several folks that I've met. Another great person that I really appreciate is Chastity Cooper. She has been a great person, a great mentor. Reached out to me last summer, and I, sat in on a tasting with her, which was wonderful. And that's what you really have to do. You have to build that community, and that's that's what other folks have, but we don't historically have those networks. We don't historically have those gatekeepers for us because we're just kind of not considered. And it's really important that the folks who have that space, who have that tenure in the community, that they reach back and help. You see me? Sorry.
I can see you. Are you?
Someone was calling me.
Oh, that's what happened the last time. My mom did that on one of our. It's okay.
Do I
It'll
need to
take
go out
time.
and come back in?
If you want to try that,
I can hear you. Can you hear me? No?
I could barely hear you.
I just turned my volume back. How about now? Still the same?
Yeah. Do you want to try going back out and then come back in?
Yeah, I can do that.
Let's see. Okay. Go ahead and try that, and then I'll bring it back on. All right, folks. Just a little audio problem. We're going to fix that right now. I'm going to do this request. Doot, 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 doot. Let's see if it works. Doot, 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 doot. Thank you all for joining me. If I haven't said it yet, thank you so much for joining me on Breaking Bread with Corey. We are with Nicole Malleri, Vent Noir, an amazing ambassador, wine educator. We're seeing if we can bring her on, and let's see. Let's see right now. Okay. One guest at a time. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see this. If I could do it this way. We're stuck for some reason. For some reason, it's not allowing me to bring her on. Let's see. I'm going to try to send it again. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm going to try to bring it on. Let's see. It's a grand Pacifica, yeah. There we go. Hey, everybody, thank you for being patient. Oh, okay. We got a question. What are you drinking? What wine are you drinking? Are you drinking anything?
I am. I'm drinking a 2019 Gamay Rouge from Visa Tui.
Nice.
One of my favorite.
Nice. It looks beautiful. Looks beautiful. I'm drinking the Rex Rye Whiskey.
Oh, okay.
Right here. Beautiful, beautiful color. From Oregon. So, yeah, absolutely delicious. So I was gonna ask you something, and there goes my dad brain again. Man, that's what always happens. Lack of sleep, lack of oxygen. Yeah, dad brain goes into effect. I was going to ask you something about the shoot. I don't even know. Oh my god, that's horrible. What kind of interviewer am I?
How many glasses of whiskey have you been on?
I know. I've had one sip too many.
Okay.
I was okay. Let me see. Let me see if I could find it in my little question book, because I had some questions written down for you. Let's see.
Yes, guys, this rosé is really. I love the color. It's definitely one of those crowd favorites. Go ahead.
Let's see. Now, I just got to show you something, because this has been with me my entire life, and a lot of times, especially dad brain, this actually makes it worse on steroids. But when you try to write something as bad as this, and you're trying to figure out the writing,
you can't read your own scratch. Yeah,
I have horrific penmanship, and I honestly think that, I should have stayed in school. I should have really stayed in school. That's bad. That's bad. But anyway, let me see. Let me see if I can read something. So see, I totally lost my train of thought. This is so bad. So bad. What actually keeps the passion for you right now, as far as everything? I know we talked about the who inspires you, but what keeps your passion going, as far as, sometimes you get a little bit of negativity in the industry, and I see it a lot, and I when I scroll or read some things, I see things that are very negative, especially toward women in the industry. What keeps your passion? What keeps you motivated to stay focused, to keep on going, to keep on punching down that wall?
I think it's just important to have really great people around you who are like-minded, people who are supportive, who can relate to what you're going through. A bunch of the folks who I can count as wine friends that I've met, on Instagram and Facebook in this community are on here right now. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, you have to expect that there's going to be challenges. You have to expect that sometimes things are going to take a little longer than you would hope them to, but you have to press forward. If it's your passion, you have to press forward. And for me,
Right.
that's what it has been. When I came up with the name Vent Noir, it's a play on the word vintner, which means winemaker or wine merchant. Noir in French means black. And so I just kept kind of thinking about, like, how could I make something that was special and that eventually I could birth into, this wine tasting gallery that I'm dreaming about, that I'm working on right now. And it's something that I was thinking about from sun up to sundown. So it's like I knew that I needed to really support myself and, pursue the education like I'm continuing to do, and reaching out to people who have, been in this space before and who are in it now, just to help you kind of get through those bumps in the road that you're certainly going to face, because none of us can do this by ourselves. I mean, it'd be foolish to think
Right.
that. I mean, you probably could, and get to a certain point and then have a little bit of stagnant,
Right.
as far as your career, but you have to really build a good community around yourself and not really give much attention to people who may not be supportive, or maybe just they might just be fearful. I think that's really what people express when it seems like they're not supportive. It's just really their fear, because it's maybe they're not strong enough, or maybe they're not brave enough to kind of weather the storm that being an entrepreneur is, and taking risk. So I think really,
Right.
a lot of times when you do kind of hear that negativity, it's because people are just kind of projecting their own issues
Fear.
on you,
Their own
because it's
fear.
something that,
Yeah.
yeah, it's something that they might not do, or they could never see themselves doing. But you really have to look beyond that, and it's one of those things where they say, you can't take everybody with you. So it's like you can't spend too much time around people who aren't being supportive of what you're doing, because it takes away
Right.
from your purpose and your mission. And I just feel like I'm at this point where I don't have time to waste. Every
Yeah.
moment is precious, and we
Right.
certainly learned that a year ago this month.
Yeah.
A lot of our perspectives really shift with our families, with our goals. And that's really what kicked me in the butt, really, to go, okay, no, you need to
Right.
go ahead and do this, because this is what you want to do, even though it scares you. You have to do it, and just do it afraid, and eventually, I'll be where I want to be, and I'll be looking back on this day like when you and I were chatting about this, and it was
Yeah.
just a dream, but it's a
Right.
work in progress, and that's why I do it, because I can't stop thinking about it.
Now that's awesome. I love that. And I think, for all of us that do things like this, that share the platform, I think we all have this certain mission, this certain thing in our veins that want to help the community out, help each other out, be a support, take out the negative, take out the noise. And I think that was one of the things for me too. As soon as this pandemic broke, my wife and I and my son, we moved out of state to a new state, and we were by ourselves. We didn't have the resources. We didn't have our family. So we had to really dig down and dig deep to find out what we're really made of. And in that time, I said to myself, well, I'm either going to sit here and just dwindle away and be negative or I'm going to turn the key and be positive, be motivating, and just do what I love doing. And I had a really good support group of friends that I came in contact with. And I found that it just started to spiral into, hey, why don't I do something like this? This is something that is needed. You know, we were doing all the marching throughout the summer and everything, and it's like, what better way to keep that momentum going, to keep our foot on the gas, is if we do something that is positive. And that was where I came about, and I was so lucky, like I said, to meet people like yourself and to meet other supportive people in the industry that were just really embracing about what I was doing and what I was trying to do as far as communicate this to everyone, not just the small margin. So how's that wine? How's it?
Oh, it's great. I'm trying to pace myself.
There's nothing like
I
a good
enjoyed myself
wine.
yesterday. I had a bottle outside yesterday. The weather, it was actually warmer than it is today. It was so nice.
What's the temperature like?
Today it's about, I believe it's it said it was going to be 69. I feel like it might be 70 or 71 today, but I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be even warmer.
Yeah, we've been hovering 50, 40, like going back and forth. We'll have rain, we'll have sunshine, and it's like a mixture of, we don't know if it's going to be.
Are you in California too, or?
I'm in Oregon.
Oregon. Okay.
Yeah. So, it is just, it's just, this is a very, very diverse climate that we've never come in contact with coming from California. Yeah. So it's pretty awesome. But I was going to ask you, so do you have, for me, like when I want to sit outside a lot of times, like I like to travel the old world, and I haven't had the fortune to travel. And so I traveled through my palette. So usually I'll say, okay, I'm going to head to Spain today. Or I'll go to Argentina, have me a little Toronto, depending on how the day is. So is there a wine or wine region that you just go, hey, I'm going to travel to that day and I'm going to sit on my patio and have a glass?
Well, anyone who follows my page, I actually had someone, a friend of mine actually, who is the head of our Black Girls Wine Society. I'm also part of the San Francisco chapter of Black Girls Wine Society. I joined earlier this year. She had made a joke. She said, it seems like all you drink is rosé. And I'm like, I drink everything, but rosé has a special place in my heart. I drink it year round. I'm not one of those people who puts it on the shelf and now is just taking it out because spring is here. So I definitely gravitate towards rosés, but I love a care for Cab Franc, but I love it. I love the herbaceous and peppery, intense green notes. So I don't know. It just kind of depends on my mood.
Cool. I definitely dig Cab Franc. I love some of the Bordeaux varietals. I could dig Malbec, Petit Bordeaux.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they're just by themselves and they're not in a blend. They're just really.
Yeah, nice, you can just really appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one thing that was really interesting when you were talking about rosé was when we moved to Oregon, and we were actually I was in a position, I was selling wine, and we sold more whites than we did reds, even in a cooler climate. I was thinking, California, that never happened. That was totally opposite. When it was sunny, everybody was drinking whites, and when it was cool, everybody was drinking reds. Yeah. Or just majority of the time, people would drink either the softer reds and then go to the deep reds. But yeah, it was really interesting. And Pinots and rosés were a huge hit. And I love rosés. Yeah. Like you said, you can drink rosés year round, and I could dig. I love rosés. Rosé, and they're so great with pairing with food and so fun. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So as we're starting to get toward the end of our time together breaking bread, one of the things I wanted to make sure I talked about was you're part of the it's the is it the African American Association for
Association of
Vintners?
Vintners. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I joined, actually, I petitioned the organization to join back in 2019 as a student. At the time, you had to be either a 2-year or 4-year university student to enter membership, you know, or being a winemaker, wine professional. And so I think in 2018, I had saw the requirements and I was like, oh, this kind of sucks. I can't participate. And then, I started doing my studies and I said, you know what, I need to say something to these people and I need to ask them, why is it that we have these requirements? Why don't they include students who are WSET? Why doesn't it include students who are getting CSW certifications from the Society of Wine Educators or the Court of Master Somms? It was just,
right.
It didn't make sense to me. And it was just something that just hadn't been broadened at a certain point because the organization itself, had kind of gone dormant at some point, just kind of due to lack of interaction and leadership, trying to keep it running. And so I reached out to Lou and Phil, and they took it to their board meeting and decided that they should include students who were WSET and CSW and everything else. So, now as a result, I'm the first student who was admitted under that category to allow those type of students in. And so now other students who are WSET and CSW and, all the other credible wine certifications that is really, the industry standard can now enter as a student member that way.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that drive. I love that passion, and it's again, it's something that we all need. We need individuals like yourself trailblazing the way for everybody, and keeping that passion. I think I just love hearing your words of how you're bringing passion to the industry, and that's important. And my big question is, and I like to end with this because we are celebrating Women's History Month. What can you say to all the individuals, all the women of color out there? What do you got to say as far as to if they're starting their journey, if they're in the middle of it and they're kind of wondering if they should keep on going or they're almost finished with it? What kind of words do you have to say? What kind of empowering words do you have to say to them right now?
Yeah, I would just say that, you really have to have a conversation with yourself about if it's something that you really are passionate about. If it's something you can't stop thinking about, then, go for it and get yourself in a community of people who will be supportive, who've gone where you want to go. It's important to be able to have those type of mentors who've been where you want to go. People who don't know anything about where you want to go, they really can't help you the way you need to be helped on this journey. Not to say that there's not any type of value added that they wouldn't have, but it's really important to really, just get yourself in a community, reach out to people. And as intimidating as it can be, you really have nothing to lose. Sometimes people don't reply. That happens a lot. But a lot of times people will reply and they will give you some time and give you some, give you some gems to help point you in the right direction, and maybe kind of shave off some time on your journey that you may not have known that you could save with otherwise. So yeah,
Right.
I think it's just important to do that. And like myself, I've even had, people, reaching out to me, and I, by any means, I don't feel like I'm an expert. One of the things I realized is once I started learning on this wine education journey, I realized how much I don't know and how much more I need to know. And I think for me, that's what's most intriguing about wine, is that you realize how much you don't know, and it makes you want to learn even more.
Right.
And so for me, that's how I know I'm in the right space. I'm always about absorbing information and wanting to share it with others. And I think this is the right space to do that, and, drinking great wine at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've learned so much from you just in our short time. I think you're a valuable asset to the wine industry, the wine community, um, women of color. I just think that you are just a trailblazer, and it's like I said, it right now talking with you, I've learned a lot. And is there any resources that you would recommend for anybody getting into, if they want to do the WSET or the CW, or looking into any associations? Is there any resources that they can go to?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, the information is out there. I kind of just in the in the dark just kind of jumped on the internet and was looking up how to get started in wine education. I ended up landing on the WSET program. I did my studies through the Napa Valley Wine Academy. There's a lot of great schools in all states that that are teaching that curriculum, or going through the CSW route. It just really depends on how far you want to go. If you want to be more education based versus service based, that will help a lot. I joined also Women of the Vines. I'm not sure if you've heard of that organization before.
Yeah,
That was
I've
another
heard.
organization that I discovered early on. They've got, you can join. Their membership is just a little over $100 once you are a student in one of those certified programs. And they have great weekly, monthly meetings that you can join in on. There's scholarship opportunities that are taking place right now that they do every year. There's a lot of attention right now to diversifying the wine space with women and women of color. So those are some
Right.
resources that I would recommend. And of course, anyone here, you can certainly reach out to me, and I'd be happy to, help you any way that I can, maybe answering some questions or clarifying anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And where can they find you? I know they can find you on Instagram, but is there anywhere else that they can find you?
Yeah, vintnoir.com is my website. Certainly here, it's pretty easy on my page. If you're not following me already, I do invite you to do so. Um, and I also have my wine apparel shop that I recently opened up, which is Boutique Vent Noir. Just some fun wine apparel, t-shirts and things that kind of speak our mind about the way we feel about wine. But yeah, certainly just, you can reach out to me here. It's probably the easiest way to do so.
Cool, cool. And yeah, you must follow Nicole, her page, and just like I said, her resume speaks for itself. Um, I can't say enough about you, and thank you so much for sharing your time, giving me the time to share your story. I know it was just a little speck, but this is something that I'll definitely continue. I love following you and seeing what you're doing and hearing all of the great things of what you're drinking. But like I said, I've learned so much in just a little time that we've spoke today. So I really appreciate that. Thanks again for breaking bread with me.
Thank you for
Hopefully we can
inviting
do it
me.
again.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully we can do it again. and I'll have better writing for my question.
Hey, you know what? It's don't get too hung up on that. For me, it flows better when it just kind of,
Right.
when it flows naturally. I think that's the best way.
Absolutely.
And I have mom
Absolutely.
brain too, so I understand. I understand.
Absolutely. We all have it. The lack of oxygen, right? Lack of sleep.
Yeah, I have a
But yeah,
12-year-old. He doesn't give me too much trouble, but so I won't give him a bad rep.
I think the thing for me is, I was hoping when my wife was pregnant, no, we're gonna have a son. I hope he's as energetic as I am, thinking, oh, we could go on runs and do stuff. And little did I think about what that would cause, the pain that would cause throughout his toddler years. And so we're
Yeah.
suffering right now because he's so high energy.
How
Um,
old is he?
he's going to be 3 on Friday.
Oh, God bless you. Yeah, my son,
Yeah.
he's he's 12 now, and I tell people I didn't sleep for 4 years. He was a horrible sleeper. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Our son
you'll get
probably
through it.
he's a very light sleeper. You breathe and he'll wake up. But yeah, it's just nuts. But again, I love the time that we spent together, and we got to do it again. We definitely got to do it again and keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Keep this community going. Keep the foot on the pedal. And like I said, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. Talk soon.
Good. Cheers to you.
Thanks everyone for
Cheers.
joining.
Yeah, thank
Cheers.
you, everybody. Cheers.
All right. See you
All
later.
right, I'll see you again. Woo! All right. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here on Breaking Bread with Corey. What a great interview. Don't forget to follow her on her page, Vit Noir. If you don't already, please do. She, like I said, just her resume alone is spectacular. You'll learn so much from her. And remember, this is Women's History Month. Let's celebrate women and really remember that. And go into your local, whether it's your local retailer, liquor store, or supermarket, place that you get your wine, beer, spirits, and ask for women brewers, distillers, or winemakers, especially women of color. We really need to do our work. We need to roll up our sleeves. It's our time, and I can't say it enough. If we're all about it, if we're all about cracking the books, if we all have a pin on our lapel because we want to do something that we love in this industry, this is the time that we should do it. And I can't say it enough. Hopefully you'll continue to join me on Breaking Bread with Corey. We have a lot more to come. Finishing out the month of March, we have an amazing lineup of ladies that are going to be sharing the screen with me. So hopefully you can join us on this Thursday. We have another wonderful winemaker from Texas. And you can check the schedule on that. Sharmi Law, she'll be joining me at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So hopefully you can make it and join me there. But again, thank you for you all spending time with me, your support. Until next time, please stay safe, stay masked up, social distance, stay healthy, and cheers.